program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining one-hour weekly show offering a diverse combination of guest interviews with questions and comments. And we will act as a positive source of information. Now, today, we will be joined in the studio with Success Dream Center CEO, Dr. EARL C. Johnson. Success Dream Center believes that everyone has the right to success and to chart a path to your success. But now our conversation today is net neutrality. What do you need to know about net neutrality? What do you need to know? This is going to be a very interesting conversation because there's a lot going on behind the scenes with the FCC and this whole internet thing, y'all. So don't touch that dial. Make sure you stay right here and catch this conversation. But before we get there, we got to reach out. I got to reach out to my man, comedian Gravedigger. Gravedigger, what you got for me, my brother? What you got for me?
Hey, Gary, what's going on? I see everybody still getting with the program. Well, look like the year coming to an end. Gary, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Gary, the year coming to an end. And it look like we coming up on this first of the year where everybody make these resolutions about what they ain't gonna do or what they gonna do. They gonna diet and exercise and quit and smoking and all that. Well, I'm coming up on my New Year's resolution, and I'm gonna tell you what I ain't gonna do. I ain't quitting smoking. I ain't quitting drinking. I ain't quitting going to the strip club. I ain't quitting eating pork, watermelon, pig feet. I ain't quit watching porn. I ain't gonna quit praying. I ain't gonna quit being funny. And I ain't gonna quit talking about people. So now, if y'all want to add to the list, that stuff I ain't gonna do. So we're gonna take that right on into the new year.
Oh, man, Grave, I tell you, man, you are such a funny guy, man. You always got something going on. You know, I can't figure out where you be getting this information from, man, but it always worked for me. But once again, you listen to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones, and today we got Dr. EARL C. Johnson in the studio. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after this musical selection.
Hold up.
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program Radio Show. Once again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining one-hour weekly show offering a diverse combination of guest interviews. Today, we are joined in the studio by Success Dream Center CEO, Dr. EARL C. Johnson. Success Dream Center believes that everyone has the right to success and to chart a path to your success. Now, our conversation today is a hot one, and the conversation is net neutrality. What do you need to know about net neutrality? Hello, Dr. Johnson, and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show.
Well, thank you once again, my friend Gary. Of course, this is not our first rodeo.
That's right. That's right.
And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you again. We seem to always have some hot discussions on your show, and I'm very proud of you, man, and I'm glad you've been able to make it thus far. I think I was one of the first person you had on your radio show.
Yes, you were.
And
yes,
I made a prophecy then that this radio station is going to take off, and it's going to be a great success. And from what I can see now, it is really moving in the direction that I knew that it would when I first came on.
Wow, that right there, that makes me feel real good that you said that. And you did say that when I first started the show
did,
earlier this year. Wonderful, man.
Yes.
So I always like to start with the title of that went behind your name, the Success Dream Center. Tell me about Success Dream Center.
Well, it's an organization I started several years ago because I saw a need of our people, African Americans in particular, but all people in general, needing to divulge into personal development. And one of my part of my research showed me that a lot of people want to be successful in life, but they just don't know how. Many of them need coaching, they need mentorship, they need to be motivated, they need leadership development. And so I started a company. It's not nonprofit, but it is so low in profit that anyone can afford to obtain some of the services.
Okay.
And so basically what I try to do is find people who may have a low profile, who may not have the self-esteem they need in order to be successful in business, and give them the skills they need in order to do it. I'm John Maxwell certified, which means that I came out of the John Maxwell program. And so I'm able to, well qualified, to help someone in that category. Not only someone, but also organizations, and I work with churches as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you're actually helping and giving back to the community as well.
Exactly.
Particularly to the ones that need it a lot.
Exactly.
Yes. So what, Dr. Johnson, what inspired you to start such an organization?
Well, I've always had a passion for people who have dreams and have ideas and have things that they want to aspire to, but just don't have the know-how, don't have the technology, don't know where to turn to or the resources. And so I want to be that person to provide the resources and the know-how and put them on the right track so they can be successful in what they're doing. So it's been a passion of mine that goes along with the pastoral role I've had for almost 30 years. So just a passion to help people, really.
How long has this organization been started?
I started when I wrote my first two books, Prophetic Speech in a Non-Prophetic Age and Growth Strategies for African American Churches, and that was back in 2014. So it's basically new to a lot of people.
So that's been going. You've written two books. I did hear you say that.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
Wow.
And I have a third one coming out in February.
Wow.
Yeah, entitled Leadership Principles for Church Leaders.
Now, while we're early in the show, before we get into the topic, how can people get in contact? What's your website and phone numbers and things of that nature?
Yeah, website is successdreamcenter.com, and the web address is successdreamcenter@gmail.com, and phone number, of course, is 919-520-0809. Again, it's 520-0809, 919 in front of that.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, there you have it, Dr. EARL C. Johnson. Information. Now, we're going to shift over into the conversation. Net neutrality. What is that? When we talk about net neutrality, as some of my listeners, I hear people all the time saying, we hear this in the news, but what is it?
Yeah. Well, to give you the short end of the version, net neutrality was put in place by the Obama administration several years ago in order to prevent large ISPs, that's service providers, that provide service to people like Twitter and other Netflix and other places, and put that in place so that the corporations will not take over the internet. The internet is free. It's a free service. That means you and I can get on there. We can go anywhere in the world that we want, and we're not regulated by any government or any organization or anything like that. So the president saw where corporations like Verizon, Comcast, DirecTV, who provide services to Twitter and Facebook and all those, were sipping in and saying, wait a minute, if Facebook's making all this money, then we need to dictate what services they can perform, they can put on, what people can look at, what content they can look at, and we need to up their prices too. So by them upping their prices, Netflix charge you more than $2.99 and go up to $4.99 for the services, then that means the ISPs are charging more money. So what's happening is that net neutrality has to do with protections. So it protects you and me from large corporations dictating what we can look at on the internet.
So this, at the end of the day, because we're going to get into that now, when you go online, just as a comment, when you go online, you have certain expectations. Each one of us, when we go online, we have certain expectations. You expect to be connected to whatever website that you want. You expect that your cable or phone company isn't messing with the data and is connecting you to all the websites, applications, and content that you choose.
Exactly.
You expect to be in control of your internet experience. When you use the internet, you expect a net neutrality to protect you.
Right.
Okay, now net neutrality is the basic principle that prohibits internet service providers, like you mentioned, AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, from speeding up or slowing down or blocking any content applications or websites that you want to use. Net neutrality is the way that the internet has always worked. Now, in 2015, millions of activists pressured the Federal Communication Commission to adopt historic net neutrality rules that keep the internet free and open, allowing people to share and access information of their choosing without interference. But right now, the internet is in a peril. On December the 14th, 2017, FCC Republican majority approved a plan to gut the net neutrality protection. What does this mean to us that they want to gut it?
Well, the basic thing is that we are in a nation that's encompassed by greed. Communication companies, all the companies that try to control the internet are greedy. AT&T is greedy, Comcast greedy, Verizon is greedy, all these other cable, Time Warner, all of them are greedy, and they want to get in on profit making on the internet. And as we know, the internet should be free. I should be able to go on there and go where I want. But these corporate giants are discriminating about certain content, especially rival content. You know, if Hulu and Netflix are rivals together, so they can enter in and try to gauge which way the conversation should go with that by, like you said, slowing down certain content and denying you certain content, and then it'll get to the point where you have to pay to get on certain places. Now, you and I, we get on the internet and we look for certain things. We research information. We go on the internet. College students will go on and look for information to help them with their classes. We've got scholars who go on there and look for scholarly work. We've got all kinds of people to go on the internet for different things. And so what's going to happen with net neutrality, if the courts doesn't stop it, is that these people will be able to dictate how much or what you can see and how much you can see, and then they'll be able to charge you in order to get into these sites. And that's why it's such a threat to the African community, Hispanic American community, and even poor whites, because we are going to be the victims of net neutrality, because we're not going to be able to pay to get into the sites that we can get into for nothing right now.
Wow. Now, the U.S. government main battle has been how to prevent other entities, mainly Russia, from hacking into the database and using it to influence our elections. That's what their battle has been. But now there's a new battle, and this battle may very well affect everyone. Now, how so will this affect the African American people, and what effect could this be in the African American community? You just mentioned that that the money is a big problem, but how is this really going to affect the African American community?
Well, the biggest way it's going to affect it is that we're not going to be able to get to the information that we need in order to be successful, in order to help our kids be successful in schools or whatever it is that they're trying to do, because some sites are going to charge us more money. And so by them charging money, we may not have $12.95 to pay to get into some site, or we may not have even $5 to get into a site that we want to get in to get the information that we need. So those of us who don't have exposure to, a higher income level may have a difficult time trying to get that. And so there's no subsidy to help poor people and people who don't have money to get into these sites to be able to do that. So they didn't include a subsidized intake into that. And so what happens is that I go on the internet and I said, I need to find out some information about kangaroos in Africa. And then I get to a kangaroo site and they say, well, the site has been blocked. If you want to really get on it, you have to pay $15.95 for 8 minutes of content. You say, and so that's how it hurts us. And it also hurts us because, first of all, we still have a large population of African Americans who still don't have access to the internet. Many of them don't have a computer at home. Okay, and so if you want your kid to be successful and they can be highly successful by looking at the content on the internet, right? And if they're poor, they're not going to be able to do that anymore. They're going to be shut out of the mainstream,
Right,
you know.
right.
And so the worst case and the worst of all of this is that Donald Trump has come into office to overturn everything that President Obama put in place when he was in office. This is what President Obama put in place a couple of years ago when he saw these greedy corporations coming in trying to control the internet. Now, for you and I, the internet should be free.
Right.
I mean, it should be like the ocean. Nobody can charge you to go into the ocean. You go somewhere like New Jersey, you got to pay a fee to go out on the beach. You know,
Right.
Now, who controls God's ocean? Just like the internet is just like the world itself. So who get to control that? And I understand in Europe they're doing everything they can to fight net neutrality, not the FCC rules regarding net neutrality. They're going to make sure that people don't have to pay for services on the internet. But we haven't done anything here. The protest has been mild. People speaking out has been very limited. We have protests over health care, and very rightly so. You have many people coming out, stepping out, saying things about that. You have protests over abortions and rights like that and capital punishment and things. People come out for that, but we had very little marches, very few marches, and very few people come out to do anything or say anything about net neutrality. Now, we saw on TV a few people arguing and fussing and a few signs up, but we really didn't see the large number of people that we really needed to come out in order to break the bank on this. Now, only thing we hope for now is that the courts will slow it down before it really goes into action. And I do believe, I'm one of the optimists who believe that somewhere in the court system is going to slow it down and tell the government to get its hands off of the internet.
Okay, because this, if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere this is possibly going to happen in February.
Right, exactly. It's 45 days from the day that they voted on it.
You know, you made a good point about certain areas right now today don't have internet. And I can remember some years back, I went to a couple of events and conventions where they were talking about certain African-American communities didn't have the proper cable, didn't have internet service.
Right.
So now these areas now do have the service, but now here we are again, get ready to try to regulate what they receive,
Right.
which is going to be a very big challenge for us.
Oh, yeah. And if you look at the global perspective of things, okay, you take away health care for 13 million people with this new tax plan. You take away CHIP, which provides health care for 11 million children, and the latest figures show that with this tax plan, approximately 4 to 5 million children are going to be harmed by that, and nobody seems to care. And that, you're giving more money to the wealthy, you're taking it from the poor, so it's like a reverse Robin Hood that's taking place. And so basically what I see is a strategic movement to disenfranchise the poor and the needy. If you take away insurance from people, you're virtually killing them. And so I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will say it looks like somebody is trying to kill off a generation of poor people and have-nots and people who don't have anything by taking away health care, by taking away information. Information is how we survive. If you don't have information, you can't live in this country.
Right.
Because we're living in a technological era,
That's
and
right.
we're living in an age of information. And people are getting paid billions of dollars a year just to give information out. That's what we're doing now. We're providing information to the community so that they can be better prepared for things. But if you don't have access to such things, then it's not going to happen. And so I think there's a conspiracy with net neutrality. We disenfranchise millions of people, and so they won't know what's happening because they can't get access to the internet to get there. Cable firms are going to go up on their prices on regular television because of the ISPs, and so you're going to have a major problem with how to deal with the poor people in this country. And the way they're trying to do it is to try to neutralize the poor people and try to make it so that if you got money, if you're middle class, then you'll be okay. But what about the least of us? You
Right.
know, and that's where the problem comes in. That people are going to be really damaged by what they're trying to do, and that's where my concern is. My concern is that I don't want to see black, Hispanic, poor whites, or anybody being affected by something that ought to be free.
Right.
It's,
Now, one thing I noticed is that the person or whomever it is that is able to control what you hear and what you see is a very powerful
Sure it is.
piece.
Sure it is.
So now we're talking about if you take away the cell phone or you take away the TV and the internet, this person is just there with nothing to do.
Right.
Now, once the person that can control what you see and hear, they can about control this world.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. So why is the FCC taking this drastic measure to reclassify this whole thing? What is it? Is it something happening in the background that we don't know?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think it's one of Trump's deals.
Is it money?
He came in office and he promised his corporation that he's going to open up, he's going to deregulate everything that Obama had regulated. And this is one of the things that was deregulated. Now he's going to open it up for these companies to come in. And that's one of the things that's taking place. It's a Trump promise during his campaign, that he's going to make sure that that these corporations be able to open it up. And then they put a lot of pressure on him so they can have access to control this whole thing. So the FCC is stacked. It's stacked with 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats, okay? And so it was a 3-2 vote. So 3 of them were, and I hate to say it, people of color, okay, who voted for this. And then there were 2 Democrats on there who didn't vote for it. So it was a 3-2 vote. And so the people who were put on there were Trump people. And he put them on there specifically for the reason to overturn the Obama rules for net neutrality. And so by not having any rules of engagement, then I can cut you off, and things that you need in order to survive, you're going to have to go somewhere else and find them. There are no encyclopedias anymore. Nobody's giving away free information anymore unless you pay $15 to go to a workshop. Nobody is helping other people, poor people, to lift themselves up and to try to become better, without charging them a fee. I mean, you can't even go to church nowadays and get good information without, giving a healthy tithe. You know what I'm saying? And so it is all of a sudden it's just become something that's becoming more racialized and more polarized than anything else.
Now, just like with anything in the world, when a decision is made, when changes are made, and anything, and particularly what they're doing now, there's always a backlash.
Yes.
And I don't know if they've thought about this backlash, because just like they regulate the information they give, we're talking about this to be a worldwide issue, because if they're able to control what someone gets in America, how's that going to affect other countries?
Right. Well, what's happening with the Trump administration, they're trying to control the content and control everything that happens in this country. They're controlling the type of people that come in through travel bans. They're controlling immigration through putting up a wall. They're controlling the healthcare system by determining who gets healthcare and who doesn't. They want to control the internet and determine who gets information and what kind of information they get. I mean, look at what the Russians did when Trump ran for campaign. I mean, I didn't see the ads on Facebook that the Russians ran. They ran over 10,000 ads. I didn't see any of them and paid Facebook for them. And so the information was going to Republican people. They had specifically designed, Russia had specifically designed their ads to go to a certain segment of the population. I didn't see any of those ads. You didn't see them either.
I didn't either.
But they went out about Clinton this and Clinton that and Clinton this. And it was all about Clinton going to people they knew who were Trumpites and wanted to bring about this white nationalist passion in the country. And so that's what they targeted. They didn't target us.
Wow. So Russia has this technology in place. That
Exactly.
So they've already gotten this going on over there. So
got
their
it.
net neutrality thing over there, this is already
right.
done over there.
It's already in place, man.
So the Trump administration has seen this to be working there.
Exactly.
So he's going to implement that here.
Yep. Exactly.
Wow.
And when you control the content, you control the conversation. You control the conversation. You control the people. You control the people. You control the country. And this is really part of the Nazis what they did during the reign of Hitler. They controlled everything, and it became a Nazi regime that controlled the people. They told them where to go, where to eat, how much education they needed, what kind of jobs they needed, how much they should be paid, and told them to shut up on top of that.
Wow.
That's the direction that we're going in.
So we're gonna be, but this hasn't passed yet though. They're pushing for it to go down in February, but we still got a chance to fight this.
Right. The 3-2 vote was to say that we want net neutrality rules to be overturned, to be repealed, and that's what they're working on now. And so they give the public 45 days or something like that to speak out on it, to voice their opinions, and then they'll come back and re-vote again. It's going to be the same vote. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter what we say, how much fuss we raise. Just like we raised heck over the tax bill, they did it anyway. The same way with Obamacare. They found a sneaky way to go in there and try to take away the individual mandate, which virtually kills Obamacare. They found a way to do that.
Yeah, to cut the money back.
Right. After all the hollering and screaming and all the stuff we're doing, they still made a way to do that. Anybody, Gary, who would take away health care for 4 million children in this country will do anything, and I mean anything, to control the country and to control the lives of people.
Because that's what it's about. It's about control. Because now I did read in some places where internet providers can slow down or speed up the speed that you get in certain communities.
Well, they'll speed it up if you're paying.
Right, if you're paying them.
right.
And so
if you're not, they'll slow it down.
So that brings another important factor is that at the end of the day, it's going to be a backfire.
Yeah.
Because it's going to boil down. They see it now as hurting people.
Yeah.
But it's going to wind up hurting themselves.
Yeah.
That's the message I want them to hear.
Right.
That it's going to hurt you as trying to hurt us because now you're losing money.
Right.
You're gonna at the end of the day you're gonna lose money.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen is people who don't have money to get on won't get on. So if they go every time they hit a button and go to a site and it's blocked, or it takes them 15 minutes for the site to come up, then they're just gonna say the heck with it. They're gonna find another mode of communication. And so Facebook, all those Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of them are gonna be hurt.
So what's gonna happen? What I'm hearing is what's gonna happen. They're going to knock us down for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years until we able to figure out how we're going to get around it.
Right.
But just that time period alone can hurt us very bad.
And in that time period, you have a dictator running the show who can use the internet to do what? Block people off certain sites and put other people on certain sites where he can control where he wants his ads to go as he runs for public office, okay, and zero in on those. Trump don't want to send an ad to me. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to send one to you because you know that chances of you voting for him is very slim. He only got 1% of the black vote when he ran, I'm I have my own suspicion about that 1%. But anyway, that's all he got. And so now people who are on there are pretty much will get on the internet, and then after a while, he said, "Look, just fed up." You know, with coming on. And so Instagram is going to say, wow, we don't have the traffic that we had last year. Facebook will say, we don't have the traffic. People are jumping off Facebook now anyway because they're finding out that Messenger, when they get on Messenger is tracking everything they do and sending that data in to anybody who will buy it.
They're tracking the cell phones. Because
exactly.
When you connect to Facebook and
it's
Messenger,
on your cell phone.
They can see your pictures in your cell phone. So
and
people need to be very conscious of that.
And not only that, they have the tracker on maps and all that. They know where you're going. When they ask you, do you allow us access to allow us the website access to, your location? They're tracking you, man. You push yes, they follow you everywhere you go.
And it's very evident because there was a movie came out years ago with Will Smith, Enemy of the State.
Exactly.
That movie came out years ago, and that was already setting an example to let you know what is coming down the pipe.
That's right.
Once again, if you just joining in to Get With The Program radio show today, we're in the studio with Dr. EARL C. Johnson. Dr. Johnson is the CEO of Success Dream Center, which he believes that everyone has the right to success and to chart a path to their success. Now, today, our conversation is net neutrality. What does it mean? What does net neutrality mean? So I'm glad that you're tuned in. Now, Dr. Johnson, while the median income for an African-American household is still right about $35,000. I mean, and only 60% of the national average is about $53,000. Should we really be focused on net neutrality as a priority?
Yes, because of the educational factor, because of the technological age in which we're living. I mean, the mode of communications now is coming through internet, is coming through television. People don't read as many newspapers as they used to do back in the day. They don't read as many books as they used to read. And in spite of what people are saying, hardback books in the bookstores are not selling as fast as people are downloading books, and plus they can get them cheaper through a download on electronic devices. So all this stuff is important. We should be very concerned about this because it's going to disenfranchise us when it comes to voting. It's going to that's a big problem.
That's a big problem.
Absolutely.
Because they can control,
that control where the ads go, where the money go, and that's why people are out there now protesting and say, well, if this is going to take place, let's make sure we spend more money in the African American community.
I am shocked because they're setting this up now
Yes.
for the second term for him when
Absolutely.
he run for president.
Thank you.
That's where this is
Thank
going.
you. Thank
You know, that's a very good point
Thank
because if they set this up now,
Yep.
when the next election come around, we're done.
You are done.
Whoever votes for whoever doesn't vote for him is done.
Yeah.
Now,
But-
go ahead.
Yeah, they control the information. So if they control the information, then they control us, and certain people be blocked off of sites where you can't get on the site unless something happens. I don't know what the rules are going to be for you getting on a site. It might be money, it might be some membership, or it might be something else, or it might be just you just can't get on it anymore. You know, so
Yeah.
because they got their content set up for a certain audience, for certain people. And when politics come back around, even in 2018, if the thing's passed, it's going to be a major blow in the voting area for a lot of us. And so African Americans are going to have to rely on people like the RWCA here in Raleigh and like other subgroups that kind of help us get the vote out and tell us what candidates we need to vote for.
Now, I'm going to focus back on the question I asked before, which is basically the same question with some more content in it. Now, as African Americans are rejected for mortgages at more than twice the rate of whites, is that issue worth sacrificing to debate net neutrality rules? Should we focus on that more than the net neutrality rules?
Well, if you're talking about home buying,
Yes.
home purchases, well, if you New York Times did an article 2 years ago, and the article they wrote, they said it was cheaper for almost anybody, not only African Americans, to continue to rent than it is to buy. Okay, when you buy a house, you have to realize everything that goes along with it. Okay,
Yes.
it's just not going to sit there and be the same house, every year after year. At some point, things are going to break down, and at some point, the prices depends on what you got. If you got an ARM or ARM, the rent mortgage is going to go up. You have to worry about lawn care. You have to worry about leaves in the summer. You have to worry about water. You have to worry about heat. You have to worry about repairs that break down in your house. I got a garage problem now. we got to worry about get somebody called to fix that.
Right.
You put that if you're only making $30,000 a year and you got a house and you got a car, you got car insurance, you got kids you got to get through college. That's a lot of income, man. That's $30,000 is not going to pay for that, especially if that's tax
that's
on
right.
top of that. That's not going to handle that.
That's right.
So you may be better off with a nice apartment or a nice rental house where the landlord would come in and fix everything for you, where you don't have to do it yourself. So I would say that, but I'm not advocating that people don't buy a home. That has always been the American dream, that we should become homeowners. But to me, it's no longer a dream. In some cases, it's a nightmare to be a homeowner. You lose your job, you find out exactly what I'm talking about, because as many African Americans now are losing jobs, and we are the highest rate of any race now that's losing homes, probably by a rate of 2 to 1 in terms of home purchase. And we're not getting homes as fast as other people are, and we're not keeping them as long as other people are. So I would argue that both of them are very serious issues that we need to be concerned about. And I don't think I would choose one over the other, but I would say both of them are very important for us to be involved in.
Very, very good. Now, once again, if you tune in, we listen to Dr. EARL C. Johnson. We talk about net neutrality. I want to ask you now, how about the homicide and police misconduct rates in black communities, which is another issue related to economic disparities? Does net neutrality rank over these issues?
Well, I would say this, Gary. I think that theologically and socially and philosophically, I think sometimes we have a tendency to put too much emphasis on one thing and not enough emphasis on another. So we got in protests about police brutality or homicides in the African American community, and we shed a lot of light on that. But the other things that we shed little light on, that we need to shed more light on, doesn't get the attention that it needs. And so what happens by it not getting the attention that it needs, it begins to fester. And this is what happened with net neutrality. This thing is not just new. It's been in the works for a while. Mm-hmm. That's why Obama put in place several years ago to kind of protect us from these corporate sharks. And so...
so we've been blindsided a while and
didn't know it. So, see, this thing's already been in the works. It's just coming to the light now. But the spotlight has been on it, but we just ignored it because people have shifted our interest away. See, that's the way politics is. Politics will have your mind on one thing and keep you focused on that. They'll keep you focused on Trump all day and what Trump is doing, what he hadn't done. And at the same time, there's something in the background that's festering and growing, and you know nothing about it.
So while we're protesting about one thing,
right.
They know. So based on what I'm hearing, they know we're protesting. They know what we're protesting about. They know that, and that's not even important to them.
Right.
They're working on something else.
Right. As long as they can keep your mind on Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice and Michael Brown and all and those, and rightly so, we should be concerned about that. Should pray for the families and all that.
Yes.
But at the same time, we should not neglect the other things that's coming in the back door. So it's almost like you play basketball, and you play basketball. They have a play called a back door, and it's when the guard comes down and he looks a couple of ways like Magic Johnson used to do, and next thing you know, he just throw it to a guy and he does a layup.
Right.
You see, and that's what they're doing to us. We're looking one way, and while we're looking the other way, they're throwing layups up because they're getting small victories in areas that we don't think that's important. Now, to talk about the murder of police brutality and things like that is very important to us. And I've been out there. I've been in jail 3 times over these issues. But what I would say is that this is murder. You know, this is murder. It's not where we are murdering one another in terms of guns and knives and baseball bats and so forth. But it's murder in the sense that we are being disenfranchised from something that should be freely ours. You know, it's almost like after slavery, we went into what we call Reconstruction. White people did not want us to go into Reconstruction. They did everything they could to prevent us from learning how to read, owning businesses, working for them. So they sharecrop, you know, and so we work for them. And we can never pay them back because we always owed them something, and that's the way. And that's the way this cycle is working. We're always behind,
right? Okay.
You know, and we're behind because the focus is too much on one thing and not enough on the other one. And so, to me, this is just as much as murder and anything else as anything else. We've been murdered by the politics of the day, by being disenfranchised and being left out of the information that we need to move us forward. So we're taking a back seat. You know what I'm saying, to the communications era, the people who are poor and people who don't have things, and those are the most things we need to look out for. I mean, our nation is not going to be judged, Gary, by how many skyscrapers is built, or how much technology it has, or how much money the wealthy has, or how many people are billionaires and trillionaires, and how many stars we have on television. Our nation is not going to be judged by that. When God judges the nation, He's going to judge them based on what they have done for the poor and the needy of these. Jesus said, "And as much as you have done into the least of these, you've done the same thing unto me." So by us doing this net neutrality, putting these rules in place, we're not only doing it to individuals, we're doing it to the Lord Himself, because this is both unethical and something that is very dangerous. You know, as you suggested earlier, going down the path that we're going, especially when it comes to voting rights, come to civil rights, when it comes to all other kind of rights that we have been granted over the years.
And that's a lot of power to be able to control.
Too much power. The
internet.
Too much.
And I think people know that.
Yes.
They know what that means to be able to control. So how do we fix this? What do you see that we need to do to and I know the radio show here is one thing. It's a voice to the community to get this information out. What do we need to do?
Well, if you go back to, you're a little bit younger than I am. Go back to my era when I came up. They only had 3 television stations. You had NBC, CBS, and ABC. That was it. There was no cable. There was nothing in between. That's all you could get, or they had one or two good radio stations, and that was it. And so we thought we'd never move from that. We thought we'd always be with ABC, NBC, CBS. And then all of a sudden somebody came out with cable. Somebody came out with 24-hour news cycles. Newspapers begin to now putting everything on the internet now because people don't buy. And so we found a way to get out of that era where we only had 3 sources of major communication plus the newspapers, and more people read them then than now. But we found our way out of that by being creative. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the creative engineering that all of us need to foster and look at to see what are some viable options that we can use in order to break this mode of disenfranchisement by the political clowns, I call, who are trying to keep us at a certain base. And so beyond the internet, mm-hmm. I think there are other technologies that's already in the work. I don't know what they are, but I guarantee you there's something already out there mm-hmm. that our people can use in order to feed off each other. And the other thing is that the most important thing is that we're going to have to lift each other up. We're going to have to help each other. School teachers are going to have to educate kids more. They're going to have to stop teaching, these little, 2 and 2 is, 4, whatever.
Right.
They're going to have to really get into some serious teaching because these kids are not going to be able to go home and get access to this information that they need. A lot of times the kids just sit around in class and go to sleep or play cards or whatever they're doing in the classroom because they know they can go home, whatever the topic is in the classroom, they can just pull it up on the internet and study it later,
right.
and have more information than what the teachers handed out. Mm-hmm. Well, they're not going to be able to do that in the future if this thing goes through. Mm-hmm. And so that's one way another way we can help is to have teachers in classrooms who help students a lot more. It's not going to be a problem in your major universities and your major colleges because they can always teach from PowerPoints. They can always teach from internet sources because they're going to have access to it. They got money, mm-hmm. Especially wealthy colleges like Harvard and Yale, places like that. Now, when it comes to historically black colleges and universities, it may be a problem because we may not be able to supply all of the new technology is going to be needed to communicate and in the classroom. Which
brings another important point.
Right.
What about the internet database, the internet campus sites? That's another thing because this information, these classrooms that are taught virtual over the internet is going to be interference.
That's right. Major interference. And so that's what what we call the neutrality advocates are upset about, that it's no longer open to anybody, and that if it's not open to everybody, then it's not going to ensure that that the internet itself is going to remain a dynamic platform for people to voice their opinions and for them to be able to speak freely about what they want to speak about. It's an infringement on our First Amendment rights. I mean, if the First Amendment gives us the right of freedom of speech, mm-hmm. this is what it is. It's an abridgment of our freedom of speech. That's exactly what they're doing. They're denying us the right to speak, or denying companies the right to say what they want to say. They're denying us to say what we want to say on the internet because they don't think we need to say it. So if I go on there and I criticize Donald Trump on his Twitter feed, then I shouldn't be able to do that because he's the president of the United States. So you're going to cut me off, and mm-hmm. saying, well, I can't say that, or I can't go on the site to do that because somebody's monitoring what I say. Facebook is already monitoring everything we say, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some people, they're kicking off the Facebook page, so you can't come on anymore, and it's because of the monitoring of that. Telling me that's not First Amendment rights. That's an abridgment of that. And I think if it goes to the court, and I'm pretty sure it would end up in the Supreme Court, where the deck is already stacked 5-4 in the Republican favor. But I'm sure at some point it end up going there. And if it does, what's going to happen is that we might have a decision where the Supreme Court says we can overturn the Obama protections of net neutrality, and we can go ahead and let these companies come in and do whatever they want to do on the internet.
So again, that's why putting in place these Supreme Court justices is getting everything in place.
Yes.
So this thing is. Actually, I'm beginning to think that this is something that was already been in the works before the president, before he even got in office.
It was.
So
I have a comment I can read to you.
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder, what does his vice president have his influences on this? Because he's a politician.
Right.
Donald Trump wasn't really a politician. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is political issues.
Right. That's right.
So this is coming from somewhere else.
Very political.
But but the president is seeing something that that could hurt. So he's following along with it.
Right. It's a page from the Russians and some other companies that do major spying on people in their countries, and this is what this is going to do.
Okay.
They're going to be to determine everything you watch, everything you do. We talked about the Bush administration when he came out with the Patriot Act. And we said, well, we shouldn't be going into people's files and looking at what people do and what people don't do. This is what this is going to do. You know, they're going to be able to control what I watch, what I look at. And so if I go on a white nationalist website, they're going to know it. If I go, to Barnes & Noble website, they're going to know everything. And that's what the problem is. The privacy that you and I have for going on the internet now is going to be abridged. We're not going to be able to go freely anywhere. Because it's either going to be blocked, it's going to be slowed down, or there's going to be a fee attached to it. And when people get that kind of control, then they can tell you, well, you can't go on the site because this is a private site now. It used to be open, but it's private. And so what happened years ago, the FCC's net neutrality policies have been in limbo since a federal court struck down most of the agency's 2010 open internet order in January. So it's already been struck down. This is in January 2010.
See, that's what I said. This thing has been
This is
going on.
2017. Okay.
Wow.
So this thing has been riding down the highway for 7 years, and now all of a sudden we're taking notice of it because we've been so focused on other community issues that we thought was so important, you know.
And they're working this in the background.
In the background, man.
So that brings me to a very important situation. This is going to be part one of this show.
Yes.
This is several parts to this show.
It is. It's a lot to it.
And what I'm also understanding that while they're busy thinking about money and what race or what community it's going to hurt, I don't know if they're aware that it's going to hurt all races.
It is.
Even the white race that are really for this, it's going to hurt them because sooner or later there's going to be a hacking going on.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody to figure a way to get into this and start other companies.
Sure.
So there's going to be a backlash. They better think that out real carefully.
Yeah. And you just brought up an interesting point. Another way it hurt the black community is that what if you're a black entrepreneur and you want to start a business on the internet? And now I can go in there now, like I have now, the Dream Center. I have a website there, didn't pay anybody for it. It was open, you know, and didn't cost me anything. It still doesn't cost me anything now. Just pay for the domain, which was $25 a year, and that was it. Now, what if the thing passes through, and I get on the air, and I go on the internet and try to set up a internet site for my business, and what they say, well, in order for you to do that, you're going to have to pay $200 in order to set up the site. I mean, what if that happens?
Right.
You know, that would disenfranchise a lot of African Americans who want to go into business and who don't have startup capital in order to do that. And so that's going to be a major problem. Man.
So that's really important because then what happens if someone says, okay, you can't get that one for $200, but now you can come over here and we register your domain for $100 or $50. And then that person obviously has got to go through the FCC, which is controlled by them. Right. That's a whole nother, it's a domino effect.
Yeah, well, the control is with the ISPs, the internet service providers, with Comcast, Verizon, and all those people. Those are the ones who are telling Facebook and telling domain services that, hey, we're not going to let somebody come on and set up a website without, you know, raising your fee. And so they raised the fee for GoDaddy and say, well, GoDaddy, you're going to have to pay X number of dollars now in order for you to sell your domain services. And what is GoDaddy going to do? They're going to pass that cost on to you and me.
Right.
And so now I can get GoDaddy for $50 a year. Who knows? Next year it might be $200 a year before I can get a domain to put up a website. And then in order to put up the website, I may have to pay extra money for the space. That's going to be, because it's going to be limited space. You know, it's going to be like a premium package, like you get with DirecTV or you get with the other cable TV. So cable TV says, well, you can get a premium package. It includes sports. It includes all your news. It includes all the politics, all the talk shows. It includes 24 channels of movies. And you can get that for $39.99. That's how this cable thing is going to start working, man. It's going to be like a premium package, man. You get this package deal, and then you can set up a website. You can get on this site. You can go to that site, but you can't go over here and over here unless you pay another $10 to $20.
So it sounds like this whole thing, it's going to hurt the communities by keeping us from getting knowledge.
Right.
But also, I'm hearing
when
that
it comes to businesses too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that because people now are beginning to be able to watch TV on the internet. So it sounds like everybody's trying to get a piece of this pie and hurt certain communities at the same time.
Why do you think Netflix went up from $2.99, and then 2 months ago they raised the price up another $1? Okay, nobody noticed that. But they sit because I have it on mine. My daughters watch, and they went up $1 or maybe $2. It's almost $4.90. They went from $2.99 to $4.99 to watch. Why do you think they did that? Because the ISPs that serve them and give them the feed that they need in order to show their programs, charge them more money. And so they passed the cost on everybody, and nobody saw that. That was one of the first stages of overturning net neutrality. And now all the other companies are starting, like Hula and that we watch on like television and the other things, it's going to be starting premium packages. So if you want to watch TV on the internet, okay, here's your package. You can get Netflix. You can get Hulu, you can
this is great. So we're saying this thing started in 2012. You said
2010.
So 2010
when it was struck down by the federal courts.
So that means if 2010 it was struck down, then this thing has probably been thought about way back, probably 2000. They probably already seen this happening. So all I have to say is wake up, people.
Wake up.
Wake up, because this is about to be something big.
Yeah. And this order was put in place to prohibit the broadband providers like Comcast, Verizon from blocking traffic like Skype and or Netflix, or putting them into the internet slow lane. That's what they done. So yeah, you can get them, but guess what? Because you ain't paying us enough money, we're gonna slow you down. And now you hit Netflix, and it just keep the circle, keep going around and around.
And people that got money can afford to pay for it. And then that knocks a lot of African Americans because we're not making the money.
Well, you don't have to worry about Netflix now because they've already gone up, and so if you got it, you still in the fast lane. But other TV providers going to be may have to do the same thing. So
we're back. We're going back, and we're going backwards into what we are. A capitalistic country. It's about the money. It's not about the people.
That's right.
It's not about caring whether the people learn, live, or heal, or being healthy. It's about the money.
Yep. And the greed of American corporations. Now, Trump just gave them one of the biggest tax cuts in the history of this country. Okay, and he did it on the backs of poor and hardworking people. Okay. Now he claims there's a middle class miracle. There is no middle class miracle, or people will be getting so many dollars or whatever out of this tax rate. And the latest statistics show that more than 80% of the people in this country did not want the tax plan passed. They passed it anyway. So it's going to be hard for Republicans to
Is it already gone in? It's already done, or they still having some kind of?
Well, he has to sign it, and I think he'd probably sign it before they go home. They get ready to go home for Christmas. And they have already disenfranchised almost 4 million children from health care. And they get ready to go home and eat. Did you see the photos of them when they passed this bill? Yeah. They were all smiling and grinning and skinning. They were happy about it. How can you be happy about taking health insurance away from 4 million children, man? And you know what's so interesting? We got maybe a couple of minutes left. But what was so interesting is that I remember when Donald Trump was had thought about running for president. And I think I heard somewhere he made a comment that he could tell the Republican Party anything and they believe it. Yeah. But he was a Democrat at that time, and he said that, and he did that. So he says anything and they believe it. Yeah. Oh man, this is going to be interesting. Well, the problem is that Donald Trump has been used by the Republican Party to do what they could not do when President Obama was president, and that is to disenfranchise thousands and millions of people, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to control. They're trying to be another, I hate to say another Nazi regime, man, and try to control everything that goes on in this country. Trump only wants yes people around him. He only wants information to go out that's favorable to him. He pitches a fit when people criticize him. He calls them names and stuff like that. And, here's somebody who's getting protection because everybody else who's been accused of sexual harassment has been able to step down, lose their jobs. He's been accused by 19 different women. And his excuse is, well, everybody knew that before I ran for office, and so they voted for me. And so it's almost like a false dichotomy. You can't compare the two.
Right.
Now, they might have done that because everything was not litigated at the time. But now women are coming forth and really telling the story. They didn't tell it like they're telling it now. And so now the truth is really coming out, and so now they're trying to protect them.
Wow.
And all of that. So it's something.
We're gonna have a part 2 of this, which now I'm hearing, being that this is communication. So we're talking about FCC. So now we're talking about possibly radio as well.
Sure.
So we're talking about radio, TV, film, the whole thing. If they can control all of that, what we see and hear, we're in trouble.
That's right. And you might be cut off the radio for long.
You never know.
You don't keep your eyes on it, man.
I'm trying to stay afloat. Once again, we were joined today in the studio by Success Dream Center, Dr. EARL C. Johnson. Dr. EARL C. Johnson, a Success Dream Center, believes that everyone has the right to success and to chart a path to their success. And our conversation today was net neutrality and what you need to know about it. Dr. Johnson, before we go, what would you like to tell my listeners?
I would like to tell them to stay informed and keep your eyes on net neutrality, understand the rules of engagement, to find out how it will affect you in the future. And there are some guidelines. You can go to NewYorkTimes.com, you can go to HuffingtonPost.com, and they can give you information. They can break it down to you. You can even go to The Root, which is an African-American magazine, and they can break it down to you and let you know exactly what it is that you can expect within the years to come. So be an informed citizen, and don't allow people to just shovel things down your throat and you take it for face value.
Wonderful. And don't be fooled by what's going on that you're marching for, and don't underestimate things that are being happening in the background of the march.
Yeah, don't get tricked.
Don't get tricked. Once again, thank you for joining in today and listening to Get With The Program. I'm your host, Gary Jones. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to be a guest on the show, please log into www.getwiththeprogram.biz. Leave me a message. Tell me about your conversation, what you want to talk about. Hey, don't hesitate to get with me, because I love to hear what you got to say. So until next time, stay positive and always remember to
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.